Hello, everybody. It's Chris and Blackie Humphrey from the YNTAAY Minis, and we're here today because lots of people are looking back at the last year because, oh, thank you. I needed that after that last year because this is sort of considered the time when the lockdown started after the terrible pandemic of 2020 started. You know, I don't think that any of us have started to deal with the ramifications. Well, I mean, we're going to be dealing with that and seeing a lot of therapists, hopefully not virtually, for many, many years to come. So, for part of my therapy that I'm doing with myself, because I don't go to therapists right now, or haven't for years, I printed up a calendar page from last March, and I went through writing down the main things that happened that month that I remember, both good and traumatic. And yes, it's sort of weird to look back because, like, for example, we started the month of March 2020, and I'm like, on Tuesday the 3rd, the California primaries were held. And even though we knew that this coronavirus was out there in the world, floating on cruise ships and in Italy and China, and people were singing out their windows in Italy, and I'm like, what's going on in Italy? You know, some of us just didn't really watch the news or know too much about it at that point. I remember the first day that I really noticed that something was happening. My friend Jameson, on the 6th of March, was having his farewell party at work. And he was going off to work for American Airlines, had the prettiest planes. That's from Come From Away. And then right before the party was starting, they called to say that the program was being suspended for a while because of the coronavirus. So he had to go and unquit. So we still had the party, but it just wasn't the same. That was also the day that the last year's YNTAAY Minis bottoms list for the bottom movies of 2019 aired. You know, they're slightly delayed this year because I'm still watching movies from 2020 because it's been hard to get through everything without being able to go to the theater, and you have to find them on this streaming platform or that one, or round up a DVD or Blu-ray or whatever. Okay, so on the 7th of March, we celebrated the fact that it was the 3rd month anniversary of Blackie Humphrey, Gladstone III, living with me and my roommate Marco. And so he was still pretty fresh to the family. And then on the 8th, which was a Sunday, that was the last time I ever went to live theater, at least since then. Good grief, that's over a year without live theater. Oh, and the last show was Escape to Margaritaville at the Dolby Theater. You know, at the time I thought, oh, don't let this be the last show, because at that point we knew something bad is happening. Something very bad is happening. But now, Escape to Margaritaville looks pretty good. I'd see it again if I could go to the theater. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing my Broadway shirt from many years ago. It's old as the hills. It has different shows. And only 3 of these productions were playing when Broadway shut down. 4 if you count Oklahoma, but this was the other Oklahoma production, not the one that was at the Circle in the Square. On the 11th, was the first LA death from COVID that was reported last March 11th. So there were many to follow after that. And then on the 12th was the big day that really hit me, which is why we're observing it on the 12th. Because that was the day I remember being in bed and reading on my phone that A Quiet Place 2 had pulled itself from its release date. So it was like, oh no, I wanted to see that. And then it's like, uh-oh, all these movies started pulling from the theaters from their release dates. So we knew something bad was coming for the industry. And then early that afternoon at work, I read that Broadway was shutting down. So Thursday, March 12th. And over the summer, I bought this poster that had the whole Broadway season of 2019 to 2020 because it has all the shows that, oh, there's a reflection on there. That's terrible. Has all the shows that were stopped even when they were in previews, like Mrs. Doubtfire and Six and so many things. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Some of these shows just announced their permanent closing. Company was in previews. And so, Diana. So I keep this as a reminder of where theater sort of was when it was paused. They call it an intermission, but this is a long intermission. So that sort of makes me feel good and sad to look at. So that was the 12th, and that night Paolo and I went to see The Hunt, that movie that had just come out. It was coming out on the 13th, but you know how they open them Thursday nights, like at 7 or 8 or 9, something like that. So we went to see The Hunt. Got a giant popcorn, and that was the last movie I ever saw in the theater. Yes. It was pretty good. On the 13th, which is Friday the 13th, YNTAAY Minis aired its Tops episode. And people at work were starting to freak out. Listen, you can hear Blackie's feet on the floor walking around. I love the pitter-patter of little dog feet. Yes, people at work were starting to freak out that Friday. I even had a little meltdown because it just felt like the world was ending, didn't it? And that was the last day that I saw a lot of those people, because on the following Monday at work, a lot of the people had been put on a stay-at-home, work from home thing, though not me. Now on the 14th of March, which was a Saturday, Disneyland closed. That's a biggie because Disneyland does not close. The 16th, on a Monday, the movie theaters closed for 6 to 12 weeks, they said. Ha! They're still not open in LA County, or I don't think anywhere in California right now. And it's now March 12th again. Yeah, so I was still working. A lot of the people were starting to stay home. St. Patrick's Day festivities and parades were canceled. On the 18th, I got what I call end of the world haircut. The 20th, which was Friday, was my last day at work. People were saying goodbye. We didn't know when we would be returning, if ever. The day before that, California had announced a stay-at-home order, and then LA's stay-at-home was going into effect that day on the 20th. I think was announced the night before, but we had until midnight to get our affairs in order, and then non-essential people were to stay at home, which was fine by me. If there's a plague out in the streets, you don't have to tell me twice. On the 21st, this was the first thing that was canceled besides, tickets to things, seeing like Dolly Parton at the Dolby Theater. What is it, Blackie? Is something outside? But yeah, so I was supposed to tape Roads to Keystone on the 21st, which was a Saturday, and it was canceled. We moved it because of the plague, the COVID. And that was my first day of stay at home. Now, on the 22nd of March, that on the 22nd, which was a Sunday, that was Stephen Sondheim's 90th birthday. That was supposed to be when Company was opening on Broadway. It was going to be a big celebration. And, one thing you got to know about me, I suffer from terrible depression. I always had the occasional suicidal thought, if I'm to be honest. And the one thing that always kept me going, besides my family and friends, of course, because I didn't know you back then, Blackie, was Broadway theater. Well, any kind of theater. Could be off-Broadway or regional or just local. But theater, movies, loved going to the movies in the theater, getting my popcorn, escaping for a few hours, and, of course, TV. And if you're taking away my movie theaters and my theater, we've got a big problem, or at least I do. And especially since I work in the post-production world, so shutting down movie theaters is a direct threat to me and my well-being. So yes. Oh, state disaster was declared in California. So on the 22nd, which was Sunday. And then on the 23rd of March 2020, I got furloughed. So that night I applied for unemployment. And I was off for 3 months. And I wrote, to end on a positive note, Blackie Humphrey is delighted. Because then he had me at home, and he had my roommate at home who was working from home. I wasn't working for 3 months. And to be truthful, I thought that we were dead during a lot of that time that I was off work, because every day was the same. The only reason I would get up in the morning was to walk this one here. And Blackie Humphrey started sleeping with me more regularly in my bedroom because I was less scared having a little person next to me. Well, he wasn't a person, but you're sort of like a person, aren't you? But this one here saved my life. And so 1 year later, not much has changed. We're getting toward the end of all this, hopefully. There's a vaccine, and if you choose to take it, that's great. If you don't, then stay at home and lock your doors. Just kidding. Oh, sweet baby. But yeah, I feel like we've been stunted, sort of, because that's sort of like a lost year. I felt all those days, and I still sometimes think that we're dead, because like I haven't cleaned my room, because I didn't clean my room before I died. So that means the room would just stay dirty, and if I keep repeating the same day, a la Groundhog Day or Palm Springs or whatever, the movie, not the city, then it wouldn't clean itself, now would it? But so, yeah, mentally challenged now is what I am. If there's a therapist out there, should give me a call. Joe, write it in the comments below. But anyway, that's what I'm doing, trying to deal with the whole 1 year later thing, all the people who have died, all the businesses that have closed. It's tough. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well, and we'll see where we are a year from now. Please let it be someplace good. Okay, on behalf of me and Blackie Humphrey, we just want to wish you all very well, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Thank you for saving my life during the pandemic, Blackie. Okay, bye. He doesn't want to be in my arms. Everybody leaves me.